Hey guys, welcome to Gamescom. I'm joined by Danny O'Dwyer, and he's just come back from seeing EA UFC.
Yeah.
Danny, tell me about EA UFC.
Dude's punching and you don't watch MMA, do you?
No, it's about
you
punching.
You should, because look at this.
Dude, if I ever meet like a bag in the street, I could probably take that down, but a real person, no chance.
Alright, EA Sports UFC is EA's have taken over the franchise. This is their first go at it. So I talked to Brian Hayes, who's the guy who worked on, Fight Night, the whole way up until Fight Night Champion. They've been making fight games forever. And that whole studio has actually been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for 18 months since they got the contract. So what they showed me was a very technical demo showing off their skin deformation stuff in terms of when people are pressing up against each other, the facial animation stuff, which is way better than previous games.
Is that in terms of talking or in terms of impact?
In terms of literally when a dude's giving someone an arm bar, he's just like that. He's just got no emotion. So now they've got they're stressing. You can see the vascular, the veins popping up. You can feel you see the blood rushing to certain parts of the body. And what I played was just a standing up demo, so there was no groundwork or anything like that. Between Pettis and Benson Henderson, who were fighting next week. And it was cool. The strikes looked good. Henderson was fixing his hair and wiping himself whenever he got hit. In terms of I was basically asking in terms of feature set what's going to be in it. They're obviously not talking about much. They weren't talking about game modes. I was wondering if maybe a Fight Night Champion type story thing might be in there. He said probably not, because it's the first game. They're going to have this franchise for a while.
Yeah, they want to just get the core mechanics
exactly
down, right?
And that took so many times for that to happen in Fight Night as well. I asked him about the rosters. I asked him if Ronda Rousey or any of the female combatants would be in it. It sounded like I would say so, but he said there was no confirmed roster yet. Also said maybe Colin McGregor, Ireland's latest fighting MMA master. It sounded like he might be in it. I don't know. And in terms of the game modes, they're not talking about it, unfortunately. And then in terms of the rest of the, what I was asking him mostly was that in the previous UFC games, because it's such a complex sport and because it involves countering and making very slight decisions, and trying not to turn it into a button masher. The controls in previous games have been just super complex. It takes 5 hours to really get to know what's going on. So I was asking about that, and they basically said that there's going to be a lot less. It's going to be a lot less rigid in terms of you're in this position. Now you have these 3 options. When I was fighting as well, the motion that the guys had seemed a lot more normal. They weren't sliding across, which they showed in their press conference, across the mat anymore. Which meant that, for instance, when he went for a right and then the weight shifted, or if I blocked one way, you could tell if you went for a right kick that it would have the power with it. Whereas in previous games, previous games you didn't necessarily. It just felt like robots, kind of just doing that, and it worked on a technical level, but it didn't feel like actual fighting. And they've done a good job, I think, in terms of presenting the various fighters with their own little quirks and personalities.
What about the damage? Because obviously, in a UFC fight, it could be over just like that. Is that something that can happen in a game? In this game, can you one-shot someone if you get it right?
Yeah, I saw a picture. I think it was of Bigfoot Silva with what he looked before and what he looked afterwards, and he was totally bludgeoned, and using all that same stuff with the facial deformation and the blood work and stuff. I didn't ask about breaks. I would reckon they're probably not talking about that, because it tends to be this type of thing that they don't answer anyway. So I didn't see anything like that in terms of if you have somebody in an arm bar. If you
don't tap out.
If you're Ronda Rousey and you just want to finish the fight and just go like that, I don't know. Previous games were pretty good about just having knockouts, and referees jumping in at the right time whenever you're doing ground and pound on a guy who's finished. It looks more like real fighting. I guess it should. It's a new generation. I played on a PS4, of course, it's coming to Xbox One as well. I think what we're going to have with this is we're going to have FIFA 08. It's going to be the new team, new direction, new technology, and I expect next year's game will probably be quite interesting for fans, and then maybe over the next couple of iterations they'll try and build on it. But from what I saw, it looks pretty good.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. If you want to find out anything else about EA UFC, just stay on Gamespot.com.